All right, here we are. And then I'm going to mute the YouTube stream. All right. As we wait for people to come in, I'm going to play a little bit and then just set the tone. Tonight is a night where we are continuing to explore how we can turn tears into gold. And tonight is such a powerful way of exemplifying. I have two wonderful guests with me. I have Krista Suh and Amanda Nguyen. And both of these women have used their stories and their passions and creative energies to turn tears to gold, turn pain into passion, pain into power, into policy. And I'm going to just open with a song called This Is Not the End. And as we get more people joining in and easing in, we'll get started. The wolves are out, their teeth are on my tail. The secret's out, and blood is on the trail. But I don't care. This is not the end. This is not the end. Trouble will come, trouble will go. This is not the end. The birds are circling, messing with my head. But I'm not running, I'm not running. Though their eyes are turning red, this is not the end. This is not the end. Trouble will come, trouble will go. This is not the end. This is not the end. Thank you. All right. I felt like that was an appropriate song to start with. Just like the birds are circling, the secret's out, all these like scary things are happening, but you know, trouble will come and trouble will go, especially when we take matters into our own hands. And I am really excited because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we wanted to take this opportunity to highlight things that are happening during this quarantine that perhaps are not getting like the most coverage on mainstream media. Amanda, maybe 2 weeks ago, you texted me that there was a spike in rape reportings, and then I started seeing these reports starting to pop up, and I was happy to see that, you know, people are starting to talk about it. And, you know, you're taking action, and we're going to talk about that a little later, what the program is that you're launching to help survivors at this time during quarantine. And I'm super excited for everyone who's watching to learn about it. And if you can help or share about this campaign, that'd be amazing. Um, Krista Suh has done like so much work in terms of understanding how to spot abusive behavior. She's created these beautiful diagrams and visuals for us to look at, and it's really inspiring. So we're going to get into the nuances of what abuse looks like, both when it's obvious and when it's not obvious. I'm curious, like, for my own story, I stepped into this work of advocacy for survivors because I myself am a survivor, and my music kind of just started walking there because I use music to heal myself. But I'm curious about both of your journeys. Like, how did you find yourself starting to like speak out publicly about advocating for survivors? Um, Amanda, would you like to start?
Yeah, totally. And Connie, thank you so much for hosting this. It's such an honor to be with you and Krista. Um, I want to start off by sharing the first time I ever saw you. It wasn't in person. It was your music video, your first one for I Can't Keep Quiet. Honestly, it was the first time that I saw an Asian female pop singer in this music video talking about something about, well, for me, it spoke about survivorhood. I know music can be different for different people, and I was so moved by it. And I remember just trying to learn everything that I could about you. But to answer your question, my background's actually in astrophysics. I was at NASA. I want to be an astronaut. And like 1.3 billion women around the world and men, I was raped. I'm a survivor. And I remember walking out of the hospital after my rape kit procedure was done and feeling so lonely. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what my rights were. And I remember walking into my local area rape crisis center, and there wasn't enough seats for us in the waiting room. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if I'm struggling like this and I have resources, what are other people doing? And that's what launched me to create Rise, and to write, these civil rights laws. We as a team have passed 30 laws since then. And I'll talk a little bit more about the campaign that we're launching this week, today, actually. But it's been a journey, one that I just want people to know that they're not alone, and that you are not powerless. That we are powerful when we come together, and you can absolutely make a difference.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, it's really incredible to hear that you went through the system and you understood the shortcomings and you started wanting to address it. And like you said, you weren't studying to go into advocacy for survivors. And so that within itself, the fact that now you are a Nobel Peace Prize nominee who's passed so many laws, it makes me feel less helpless in the time where it's easy to feel helpless. Like things are possible, and we just take these small actions one at a time. So yeah, I'm super stoked to have you here. And Krista, I would love to hear a bit about your journey and how you started advocating for survivors too.
Sure. So I think coming as the creator of the Pussy Hat and having a very particular experience of abuse, I always felt like I wasn't serious enough to deserve a lot of the resources out there. That I hadn't been abused as much as other women. I hadn't been, and a part of what the Pussy Hat stands for is like approaching something with joy, and so I think those two things combined when I was speaking to a healer friend of mine who works a lot with people who have been sexually abused, who works a lot with survivors. and she's like an expert in trauma. And I was like sort of her like happy client, be like, guess what? And then the more we got to know each other, though, she pointed out to me, she's the first person who ever told me that a colleague, a coworker of mine was abusing me. And that had never even occurred to me. Like um, it was so strange. It was, I hadn't even known to be on the lookout for that. I just knew something was wrong, but I thought it was me. Um, and and she was the one who introduced me to some resources, and it was her who inspired me to make more resources, because she said, these are resources that women only find out about when it's too late, when they get entered into if they make it to a safe house late at night, like there's this binder shoved at them. It's like, here, look at this, and that's when you find out about it. And she said, wouldn't it be amazing if you just like had a scarf around your neck and you were having coffee with your friend and you could just like take it off and show this to her, like resources, what to look out for, how to spot abuse, how you're not alone, to start the process much earlier.
Right.
So basically, I'm trying to find ways that art and culture can share this vital information to help people who are struggling with abuse.
That's really powerful. Yeah, I think that happens so much with all of us, is that sometimes we step into relationships and we slowly realize, oh, this is an abusive relationship. And that's how it works, right? Because it's this, whether or not the abuser is planning it this way, it works better. The abuse is more effective when it kind of unravels in a way that we don't notice. So,
Yeah. And also, I want to point out that I've spoken to women who, like, not to make light of it, but to me, it was so obvious they were being abused, like, and I thought, oh, so she doesn't have the same problem I do of like wondering if she is or is not. But like, there have been heights of abuse that even then people are like, that's not me, I'm not a survivor. I have it pretty good. I don't dare complain, And so I want to break down what are those walls we're building within ourselves, and to hopefully take down some of the shame as well.
yeah, I can relate to that. I was one time sexually harassed by a cab driver, and I called the New York cab service, and they said, well, we don't have an option of complaint for sexual harassment, but you can call 911. And I was like, call 911 to report a grabbing, like, and I wasn't going to. And then my friend was like, you have to, and then you have to write. And then I was like, and then maybe I should write the transportation service that they need to have a box for that. Because basically the complaints were messy car, bad driving, rude driver. They were like, okay, well, you can file this complaint. I was like, they're like, but where do you want to file this? I was like, just put it under rude driver. I don't know. So, and Amanda will talk about this too. She's launching this campaign, and the concept of creating options for people that may not seem, that are not as drastic as like a 911 or the authorities, is really helpful. Like something that's just about getting help, that's not, doesn't feel so quote unquote dramatic, even though it's not. But like sometimes we need something that is a step between. So Amanda, do you want to share a little bit about what you're finding and what you're doing about the increase of rape reports during quarantine?
Yeah, absolutely. And I so look forward, Krista, to the section where you're going to be sharing some of your stuff, because I've seen some of your representation graphics, and they're awesome. But to get back to your question, Connie, unfortunately, sexual violence and domestic violence has happened long before COVID, and during COVID, as in during other crises. So during natural disasters, during war, when people are displaced, we know the data shows that sexual violence increases. We've been seeing this already in COVID with cases from Wuhan, the spikes in Italy, in France, and it's here in the United States. And so I want to give a big shout out to my team who, has worked so hard over these past couple of weeks to do things, to do rapid response, and be able to talk to our community, the folks that are still open right now, restaurants, chefs, grocery stores, people who are our lifelines right now, and talk to them about how, one, this is April, it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, but also there is this pandemic in a pandemic. And what research has shown is that it's not something that goes away once the crisis is over. Unfortunately, it stays. And because of the movement restrictions, which are necessary, we understand that, but because of that, it really limits the places that survivors can go to, let's say your family, your friends, your school counselor, your doctor, your primary care doctor at this time, and really get help. So what we're doing is a program called Survivor Safe Haven. And there are two options for grocery stores and restaurants. And I have them here. So the first option is an infographic. There are two flyers. So the first one, and I can also, we posted it. If you want to check it out, it's risenow.us/COVID. The first one is an informational flyer. So it's the hotline and the website where your rights are. So it's just information. And then the second flyer for participating places include a code word. So these places that have this flyer have trained their staff. And those people know that if someone comes up to them and says, Rise Up 19, that means that they will call the hotline and they will give you a safe place within their establishment to take that call. And to get back to your point, Connie, some people have asked, why not call 911 for survivors? And the reason for that is because we want to give as much agency as possible to survivors. It does not limit that possibility. On the hotline, you can talk about that. But also, we want to give people, again, a menu of options so that they feel empowered to choose, because we know how scary it can be.
Yeah. Wow. So how can someone watching this get involved?
Well, there are several ways. One, if you are a chef, a restaurant, grocery store owner, and you're still open, and you're interested in either putting up a flyer for information, option one, or option two, which is becoming a survivor safe haven, and talking to your staff, training them to look out for this phrase, putting it at the cash register, even putting it into your phones to know how to quickly dial, please check out www.risenow.us/COVID. Second, if you aren't these things or owners, please share this. We would love to get this out there. We know that there's a lot of people in need right now, and we want to let people know that they're not alone and that there are people in their community that are there for them and looking out for them.
That's amazing. And so my one question I have is, when someone calls the hotline, what are some of the things that can happen on this call? Like, what's the range? Like counseling? Yeah. What do we look at?
Well, so the first one is counseling, and there are different hotlines. Oh, we have RAIN that's listed, but we do also have specific ones for SF and New York. And so the options do range. So what I would recommend is for folks to, if they want to do their research, and if they can't, then to seek that help. And then on the call, they will be able to tell you what your options are. So they do vary from place to place. But the one that we do have is RAIN's hotline, rain.org.
RAIN is such a reputable organization. And am I correct in it's founded by Tori Amos? Yeah, co-founded by Tori Amos, or she has sung for it. I don't know.
RAIN?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I know that Scott is the current head of RAIN right now.
Okay.
He's an awesome guy, and so shout out to him and all the other folks at RAIN.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I hear nothing but good things about RAIN, so that's great that that's the resource that's behind the hotline.
Yeah, we're actually adding another one, which is the crisis text line. But we're updating that right now. So that's another place where people can go as well. So we're going to be adding that to the flyer moving forward.
And I think before we started live streaming, you were saying that some restaurant and store owners have already committed, like some in New York, LA.
Yes, in DC, LA, and New York. And I am so grateful. Look, we completely understand if restaurants or grocery stores cannot do that. We understand it because, people are working. This is a tough time. And we are just grateful for people who are out there right now. Like, that's incredible. Thank you. You guys are our heroes on the front lines of this. All of the chefs that we have reached out to so far, at least the ones that I've reached out to, have said yes. And it's been so incredible because what they've said is, we just want to know how to help. For those who didn't know, it was, wow, like, we didn't realize that this is even a tougher time for vulnerable communities like survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just so grateful that they're putting it out. So I want to shout out Chef Kevin Tien from Emily's in DC, Chef JJ Johnson in New York. There are countless, but there's also Chef Amy, Centralina, Piccolina, and Mercado. There's some of those few restaurants that have already put it up, and Kismet from LA. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
We're super grateful.
That's great. Yeah. And I'm reading some of the comments, and Kim says Tori Amos was Reign's first spokesperson and has been on the National Leadership Council.
I thought maybe someone in the audience would know. Like, I don't
yeah.
now,
yeah.
but
like, oh.
yeah. And I think here it says, I'm reading another comment. So let's hold on to our pants as we go. Is the law system so sexist in USA as it is here in Brazil, where we have usually women being treated as crazy people, parental alienation, when they accuse a father as a child abuser? I think, I don't know as much about this, but there is a tendency to, Amanda, you can speak to this, but I do feel like there's it's not a fully safe place for people who are coming out and coming forward about their abuse.
Yeah, the law here in America, as in many places around the world, has a gender, and that gender is not female. Laws were created by people, and when people create laws, they take their own experiences with them to the table, and that's why it is so important that we have people from the communities affected at the drafting table. That's what RISE does day to day. We're an accelerator for civil rights. The majority of our laws are for sexual violence survivors.
Incredible. Yeah. So if you all would like to donate and to help, all the money that I'm raising through the I Can't Keep Quiet Fund are going to be going towards RISE this month. So I'm going to be putting up that link real soon. And I'll do that as we segue into, unless Krista or Amanda, is there anything we want to add about this? And unless we go into what Krista has to share.
No, I just want to say thank you. And I'm really excited to hear from Krista.
Yeah, thanks for this incredible program. I think it's really, really smart. And I hope a lot of different organizations, establishments sign up, and we'll be putting the word out.
Amanda, do you think you could say the link again, actually?
Oh, totally. Yes, it is www.risenow.us/COVID.
Woo! Incredible. Awesome. So I'd love to move to Krista. I'd love it if you could share a little bit of the things that you have shared with me that have really educated, informed, and encouraged me, just knowing that you're putting this art and this information out there. Krista uses art and fashion and wit to create movements or projects or websites and different initiatives to bring attention to things that are important in our society. And so one of her first projects that went on the global scale was the Pussy Hat, where she decided that she wanted to empower people who couldn't go to the Women's March to represent themselves by knitting these pink hats. And these pink hats were distributed to people for free. And within these hats, which was my favorite part, were notes from the people who knitted the hat saying like, this is why I marched, and, or this is why I want you to wear the hat to march for me. And I thought that was like, there was a message of inclusion with people who are differently abled, which I thought was so powerful. And then, you know, the idea of it being free and this transaction, it's not like you're selling something. It was really, really amazing. And then, you know, I remember your initial objective was like, you wanted to see just a sea of pink for the Women's March. And I think you made that happen. And then afterwards, as you moved forward, this material about to show is really, really compelling, and super psyched for everyone to hear about it.
Thanks. Oh my goodness. I'm so honored to be here. And Milck, you're amazing. Amanda, you're amazing. And I feel weird saying this because Amanda, I think you coined the phrase, but Amanda pointed out that the look, as in the look, the sound, and the policy behind the Women's March were all made by Asian American women. And you are looking at all three of them right now. And it's a powerful thing. So I hope, especially because Asian American women have a reputation for being quiet and demure and go along to get along. The fact that, and female, like the fact that three of us really broke through those stereotypes, I hope whoever's watching right now, you feel empowered as well, that like you might not be seen as the like natural activist or change maker, but there is no normal when it comes.
That's a great point.
So I'm going to share my screen real fast, and then I'll come back to like talk about it a bit more.
I love a Zoom share screen.
I know, it's so like it's so, except I got rid of my thing. It feels really next level, like we're really in the future. So this is a site I made to kind of coalesce a lot of what I learned from on my journey to like learning more about abuse. And I was really struck by the survivors of R. Kelly, and and what really struck me then was that like this is not just particular to celebrities, or it's really everywhere. So this is a power and control wheel, which was it's based on the domestic abuse intervention project out of Minnesota. And it's the reason why I find it so helpful. So this is for joycelyn.savage.com/resources. And
can you explain who Joycelyn Savage is? Yeah.
Well, like she's one of the survivors of R. Kelly, and I particularly wanted to put a name to, like, I made these resources for her, but they're really accessible to like anyone, was sort of my experiment with all this. But actually, before I hop into some of these, to give you some examples, I guess, I would love to talk a bit more like big picture for a second, because to me, like the woman from Brazil asking, like, are people called crazy here in America too? Like, and it's really stunning to me that that women in this day and age are still called crazy for having experiences and needs and trying to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a catch-all term for that, which I call the haze, because sometimes people are afraid to call that number because they're like, I don't know, like maybe I don't deserve that, or things aren't that bad. And we have trouble seeing our own troubles and needs because there's this haze around us of patriarchy. And it's not like one enemy we could point to and be like, ha, you are oppressing me. It's kind of all around us. And it's things like this project, this number, the Pussy Hat, your music, Connie, that they're like, to me, they're like lightning bolts, and they kind of cut through that haze so you could see clearly for a moment. So I'm
Right.
trying to create these tools and these art pieces that can hopefully cut through the haze for some people, and so they could see clearly and take actions that heal themselves. So the power and control wheel is one of those healing
The lightning rods.
lightning rods,
Yes.
exactly. So if I'm gonna share screen again, um, so this is available as a zine that you could print out for free. But I have like simple questions that are supposed to be like lightning bolts. Like this was a lightning bolt for one of my best friends. Connie, you know her too. But it's it's a simple question to ask yourself, which is whose world is getting bigger and whose world is getting smaller. So people who are trained to look for abuse in couples, they are taught to ask themselves whose world is getting bigger and whose world is getting smaller. And in an unhealthy relationship, oftentimes abuser's world is getting bigger while the survivor's world is getting smaller. And it's such a simple case, but like a friend of mine who wasn't being um, sexually abused or hit or so on, she realized she was being emotionally abused because this question, through this question, she realized that out of concern for her partner, all these things, she was making her world smaller and smaller. She wasn't seeing her friends, she wasn't having them over, and her whole world's getting constricted. And
Right.
she was able to spot that early for herself with a question like this. So these are the tools I'm trying to share with people. And if I'm gonna, so there are like a few more like that hopefully kind of are these lightning bolts so you can see clearly like these factors going on around you. But in light of COVID-19, I do want to point out there are these videos that I did not make. This is a man who works with men who batter, and he talks about every individual slice of the power and control wheel. The power and control wheel is they interviewed dozens and dozens of survivors and coalesced all the information to find the 8 most common ways abusers keep their victims trapped. And the 8 pie slices, so to speak, are the main ways. And if you look at this ring around these 8 slices is violence, physical violence, sexual violence. So oftentimes that is like a ring around them to keep them in, the threat of that. But within the pie slices are less obvious forms of control. So we've got intimidation, emotional abuse, economic abuse, using the children, minimizing. And I really want to talk about isolation for a second, because the power control wheel is so powerful to know about because this is like the playbook of abusers. So if you understand what they might subconsciously be using against you, you can better spot it. And frankly, you could also spot when you might be in an abusive dynamic and you are using some abuser tactics, and you could tone yourself back on it because we all get involved in these dynamics sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I will fess up to that for sure.
Yeah. And to look at it without shame is really helpful, actually. And obviously isolation, we're all isolating ourselves right now. But this is particularly dangerous for people who are in an abusive relationship right now because even without a like an isolation order or a safer at home order, oftentimes abusers will tell, oh my gosh, sorry about that, guys. I'm just so popular. What can I say? That was my mother. No, it wasn't. Okay. Controlling what she does, who she sees and talks to, what she reads, where she goes, limiting her outside involvement, and using jealousy to justify actions. Like, I love you so much, baby. Just spend time with me. Don't go out with your friends. You know, and so it can be very innocuous seeming, but the reason why isolation is so powerful, and R. Kelly does this, Michael Jackson does this, probably you have a neighbor who does this, is because when you take out all these outside influences, suddenly the abuser is the only influence, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's why isolation can be very, very um, just really, really
Insidious.
for survivors. So
Right.
so that's why I'm super happy to like share these resources. Like please download the zine, print it out, read it, spread it around if you want. Um, I worked with some amazing people on it, and so actually the zine, if you were to print it out, it doesn't have a title page, so you don't have to go around at home being like I'm being abused and reading it. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
It's
not as
more,
obvious.
yeah, it's
And
more discreet.
it's more discreet, thank you. Which is
Love
not my
that.
style normally, as you can see. But but I like sharing resources that are designed to be helpful, you know, in these particular situations. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that even if you feel like you're not being abused, I think it's so helpful to learn these ways of spotting abuse so you can honestly, like, it makes you a more productive person at work. It makes you a better friend. It makes you and you can help spot signs of abuse in your own life as well as the people around you. And um I'm so happy to offer those resources, but to be honest, I was also like, gosh, I really wish I had an action for people to do like right now, because this is like, you know, an ongoing practice of
Mm-hmm.
help, and it sometimes doesn't feel immediate,
Right.
although sometimes the lightning bolt is immediate, I don't know.
Mhm.
Which is why I'm so glad Amanda's here today to give us an amazing action to do that can help right away, right now.
Yes. I think this is really powerful. I think that, Krista, you're creating materials to help people perhaps prevent and also maybe to reflect on their own relationships, or, just even to study and to be aware of what this looks like for some people.
Yeah, it's
Um,
almost like the power and control will people know about the way we all know about the food pyramid. You know, it shouldn't be this like hidden esoteric knowledge
yeah.
people
I
know.
would love that if it was as widespread as a food pyramid. That would be so productive and powerful for so many people. And so there's a lot of preventative and educational tools that Krista's providing. I've typed in the links in the chat if you want to take advantage of Krista's educational tools that also look beautiful. And then Amanda's campaign, which launched today. So I feel really special that you're taking time, both of you, to share, and especially with the urgency of the action that we can take to support survivors that are in isolated environments. We're creating this, this type of resource that is accessible to some people who may feel trapped at home, but perhaps when they're getting groceries, or perhaps when they're going to pick something up, like some takeout, there is this little light. And even if a survivor calls to just say, I'm so tired, even that one conversation could save a life. I have put in my I can't keep quiet.org/fund link in the chat. If you want to donate, please support Rise. They're doing amazing, incredible work to not only pass legislation to protect sexual assault survivors, but this campaign that's happening right now is going to help people and give people a way to find their way out. And I also want to acknowledge that, I think we've had this conversation earlier when Amanda and Krista and I did a prep call, is that we have been using pronouns such as her for a survivor, and abuser is he. And we want to acknowledge that it can also be switched. A lot of times we've been choosing these pronouns because statistically, she and her tend to be the majority of these survivors. But so we just want to take a moment to acknowledge, and that's an important thing to look at, is that sometimes women can be the abusers and men can be those who are surviving, and in same-sex couples as well. So yeah, I would love to open it up if anyone wants to say anything else. I wanted to keep tonight short and sweet. It's a lot of material, I know, and can feel heavy, but I really appreciate you all coming and bravely taking in this information, because there could be a lot of reasons for you to be like, I think I'm just going to watch Tiger King, So this is really brave and amazing, and the first step towards advocacy. So thank you for watching. Amanda and Krista, is there anything else you want to add?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to point out an amazingly thoughtful detail about Amanda's plan through Rise. I love that if, I were to go to a restaurant or grocery store participating in this, like they would let me use their phone to call in. I think that's so important because, oftentimes abusers will control survivors and victims with by heavily monitoring their phones. So amazing detail there. Like you obviously she knows her stuff.
Thank you for catching that.
So please, get these flyers out. Yeah, sorry, you were saying, Amanda.
No. I just actually one of the chefs asked that. They're like, wait, excuse my ignorance, but why would they need to use our phone? And you put it beautifully. I explained just that. And so, I think a lot of folks out there want to help, don't know how to help. And here's a way that you can help. And I want to just end by saying, peace is not the absence of visible conflict. And that's what we're seeing right now, that things are behind the doors, they're hidden. And I just want to thank the both of you so much for helping us get the word out there. We stand by at Rise, a whole team of us, trying to do our best to help as many people as we can. And thank you so much for caring about survivors and for putting in your time when you can be doing anything, including seeing if Carol Baskin killed her husband or not. Doing anything and helping us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, thank you both. And for all of you watching, if you know someone that might be interested in learning about this, share this YouTube live stream. This video will be up. Like, share this resource, share Amanda's flyers, share Krista's resources. And I think that with even one share, we could save a life and make someone's day better. So I thank you both for coming. I'm going to close tonight with a couple songs. And before I do that, I just want to say thank you. And
one more thing. I'm just
such
a sorry.
No need to say sorry.
Oh, then I take that back.
Yeah, so take it back. Yeah.
So I'm with these two women who are just such rays of light. And, we use that phrase she's such a ray of light, right? And I think, and maybe people watching can relate with me on this. There are times when I feel really helpless, it's I have a lot of problems going on in my life. I need to watch my health and my financials and this and balance things and oh my God, and be there for the people and on. And when I talked about that haze of patriarchy, it's true. It might sound small, going to your grocer or calling a favorite restaurant near you and asking them to take part in this, or going to that website or donating to the I Can't Keep Quiet Fund, sharing this very video. It might feel very small, but you're being that ray of light. You're shining light into people's lives and being, and you're for that moment, you're getting rid of that haze and you're giving people opportunity to become rays of light themselves. I know that sounds a little bit out there, but I 1,000% believe that this is a transmuting process when you do these shares, that you are becoming light for others when you do that. So I just really want to say how important that is and how important you are.
Thank you. You too. We all are. Well, I love you both. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone support these incredible women. I am so proud that the look the policy and the sound of the Women's March is here in this chat, and I cherish this. This is the most special thing I can experience in one lifetime. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna close this off. You all can feel free to stay, or if you want to take a moment and you can be off camera and listen to the songs, I'm happy either way. But I think I'm gonna share a couple tunes with that come from my own story of learning how to tell my truth. And this song is called Undercover. No more undercover, no more will I hide, no more chasing numbers, no more chasing lies. I'm gonna tell you who I am now. I'm gonna let the shine come off. I'm gonna let you see my dogged heart, the scars that lie across. I feel like I'm living somebody else's life, a constant pretending and need to be liked by the ones that I love. It's all I ever wanted, to lay down my guard, be out in the open, not have to try it so hard. It's all I ever wanted, to let down my guard, be out in the open, not have to try it so hard. The world makes me a number. The world wants me to fit into pretty little boxes. Well, I'm not doing it. I feel like I'm living somebody else's life, a constant pretending and need to be liked by everyone. It's all I ever wanted, to lay down my guard, be out in the open, not have to try so hard. It's all I ever wanted, to lay down my guard, be out in the open, not have to try it so hard. It's all I ever wanted, to let down on my guard, be out in the open, not have to try so hard.
Oh my God. Are you trying to make me cry on camera? Oh my God.
Cry, Krista, cry. All right. Thank you all for joining. Feel free to sing along. I'll hear you in my subconscious spirit. spread your legs. Oh, I could do that, but no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, if I just lie still, would I be that monster, scare them all away? If I let them hear what I have to say, I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, one woman riot. I can't keep quiet for anyone. No, not anymore. 'Cause no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, take that dry blue pill. They may see that monster, they may run away, but I have to do this. Oh, I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, one woman riot. I can't keep quiet. Even in quarantine, the fight for justice continues. Even in quarantine, the journey of self-improvement and self-discovery continues. And I might replace self-improvement with self-discovery. I like that better. I don't think we need to improve ourselves. I think, as Glennon Doyle says, we just need to return to ourselves. So even in quarantine, we speak up for ourselves and we speak up for others. And even in quarantine, we rest. We won't keep quiet. No. We won't keep quiet. No. We won't keep quiet. No, we won't. No, we won't keep quiet. Thank you, everyone. I want to read through some of the comments. I'm going to just drag this over here so I'm not looking so far. Thank you all for being here and for sharing. And please, again, like if you feel inspired by any of this, or if you know of someone that may be inspired by this material, like I highly, highly, highly encourage you to share this, because this is how justice happens, is one share, one communication at a time. Miley, thanks for joining. I love Miley. Miley's incredible activist and advocate, and has done so much work for sexual assault survivors. So it's really, really special for you to be here. She headed the Joyful Heart Foundation, and she's an incredible woman. And Emma E., thank you so much. You all made my day. Thank you for being here. Lori Wilkins, thank you for being here. Colleen O'Brien, just appreciate you all. Beth Benson says, love these anthems. Thank you for listening. Sarah's here.
Hi, Sarah.
Sarah knows both Krista and I. Carrie's here. And Aurora, thank you all for being here. Hufflepunk. Hufflepunk says, I was a proud feminist when I was in my abusive relationship. We can really be in denial and blame ourselves even when we quote unquote know better. Very true. And how important to forgive ourselves when we do fall into denial. Oh, I think something happened here.
Thank you all so much for joining, and have a beautiful, beautiful night. And thank you, Krista, for being here too.
Thank you, Amanda. She says she's watching right now. So
Yes,
thank
she is awesome.
Well, thank you,
Send
everyone.
her love,
Love you.
and I send you love. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. I'm gonna go lie down now. It's quarantine. Bye.